Really, Anselman? Really?
Midwestuary 2025, August 22nd through the 24th in Elmhurst, Illinois. A weekend you won't want to miss with special guests Cale Zeldin, Paul Vanderklay, Rod Dreer, Elizabeth Oldfield, John Vervaeke, and Jonathan Pajot. Midwestuary 2025, the Fellowship of the Spirit. Stay tuned for more details. Visit us at midwestuary.com for ongoing updates.
Yes, thank you for using your channel superpowers of the custom emojis, emoji. And thank you for being virtually not alone. Zach and Spatch and Ups and Anselman and Paul and Chad and Yoav. Yes, that's you're very welcome. I'm thinking about doing more of those as video content to see how that does. I'm glad you enjoyed. Yes, Spatch, that is how you do. Just use your custom emoji to make this guy in the Hive Mind chat. You can also say howdy with the howdy. All right, welcome. This is the Grimgris stream. It's called As the Jbp Turns. As the Jbp, because there's a turn I've detected. And that turn it's not on sale. The hat is not on sale. It's a heretical turn. It's a heretical turn. A. Sonnenberg, the Hansel heresies have been made, and I've delineated several of them on this here card. We'll be going over that today. But first, a disclaimer. This show uses mind control. However, you do get a savings throw against it if you are willing to make a choice as delineated in this beautiful branding. In the corner has been swamped with a
mind control.
Savings throws for mind control. So this is how bad I have failed.
I understand you have a respect for serious play. Yes, I have a ritual with my channel where, like reminding fish that they're in water, I remind people that there's a lot of mind control out there, even if you just consider advertising.
So this is how bad fail.
I give you a savings throw against the mind control I use against you. So A, you know I'm using it against you, and if it works, I get more points. And B, you get the chance to resist it. You base your resistance on your choice between your will to survive, your social networks, your accumulated wisdom, or the power of your heart.
Mind control will continue in a moment.
It's a daycare near our home called the Gingerbread House. Wow. Install surveillance. Call that Chris guy. Anyway, here you go. You get saving throws against the mind control. They last you from now until the next show. So, and you might come back and get one the next time. To resist the mind control, you have to make a choice between your will to survive, your social networks, your accumulated wisdom, or the power of your heart. Which will you use to resist the mind control? Survival, social, wisdom, or heart? Choose. Survivalist, half damage. That's a pair of 816 for you. Socialist, even better, pair of 918s for you. For you lovers of wisdom, bringing it home with the Nat 20 that gives you +3 to next stream saves. Heart folks, I'd say you're going to need your bonuses, but they would not even help. The new heart dive from the Estuary Road Trip, guys, is Nat 1ing the mind control for you folks. Bonuses do not apply in the case of a natural one. And Indigo kids, deuces for you. That's full damage, unless that's, usually like full damage, the Indigo ones. This is how I steer. This is me chasing this thing, Yeah. This is how I steer. Yeah. This is me chasing this thing, Yeah. Hello there, then, the Sartori Studios, the Anto Man. I miss Anto Man. And Neil's out there, as well as Huggle. Good to see you. Full damage. Okay, well, what you might recognize me. You might recognize me, and you might recognize me from this smash hit video with the dwarves. Jordan Peterson on Fairy Stories is getting lost in the woods. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Pastor Paul Vanderklay has included a clip of yours truly in a JBP video. And we know JBP's people watch those videos, so we have this one here for them today to catch when they come looking in to investigate me afterwards. And as such, since it's from Pastor Paul's homeroom, we'll give us a blue church card of the show. The Deuce of Clubs. Speaking of Deuce of Clubs, Pastor Paul is taking a deuce on Jordan Peterson by claiming that him doing these fairy stories is getting lost in the woods. But here's the important clip. To provide the foundation of shared narrative. Then by having 3 main channels broadcast that same narrative through the altar in everybody's living room they call sex.
The evil queen.
People very just king, great king. People error, people king, big, just king. Happy, many down, many jack king from right, just new king, big, great can new, happy, the hours are not what they seem, the hours. just king, great king. People error, people king, big, just king, king. Happy, many down, many jack king from right, just new king, big, great, can new, happy. The owls are not what they seem. The owls are not what they seem. The owls, people very just king, great king. People error, people king, big, just king, king. King, happy, many down, many jack, king from right, just new king, big, great, can new, happy. The owls are not what they seem. The owls.
Since I was featured in his video, I thought I'd feature some of him from that video. In this video, the controversial Jordan Peterson on fairy stories is getting lost in the woods. Here's part of that.
I know that talking through it with Jonathan Peugeot was good. Jordan always seemed to need, and you know, when you look at what formed him, you look at classroom lectures. I know I haven't watched any of the Peterson Academy stuff, so I haven't seen any of that. You look at, let's say, his biblical series, like the seminar, the biblical seminars. I think that setting is really good for him. I don't know that sort of the using the fairy tales instead of the Bible preacher setting really works well for him. The thing about the Bible is that despite all of the bad preaching that the Bible is subject to, you can't really wear it out. The fairy tales, I don't know. So those are my thoughts on that.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you,
If it's helpful.
I haven't found the thing I'm looking for, but we'll be moving on to the Hansel heresies. It's far worse than you possibly imagine, and I'll delineate that for you here today, Paul. With these fancy timestamps, and I have a brother. I don't know if he likes fairies. Chet, we can convince AI of anything, because it's never convinced. It's always convinced. Hey, Kale, and not convinced. Let's get to the first timestamp. What? Yes, fine. 6:05 it is. 6:05.
Share it with this stranger, this strange prophet. And then it turns out that if she hits the barrel of flour, more flour appears, and the oil magically refills, so that the prophet and the woman, the widow, the poor widow, and her son subsist on virtually nothing for a very long period of time. And you might ask, well, what does that mean? Apart from the, let's say, childish, magical element of it, it means that, hello, everybody.
That was too far. Say it again, pal. At 6:33.
It means, from the, let's say, childish, magical element of it.
Whoa there, pal. Whoa there, pal. The multiplication of limited supplies is a historic and divinely known manifestation of the work of the Lord. I asked Chad, did you find that video? Mustard Seed Mountain. It's which? The second one, I'm guessing, right? For you to have a problem with Christians, bro.
Well, the problem is the deep desire to hear the words of somebody else and proclaiming.
Dude, I don't know why you had the Sharon Stone crotch shot. This whole thing, it's like unwatchable. Oh, it's from some guy's Substack. This is part of it.
I held it up to the light, trying to see how much was left, but the dark brown glass was too thick to see through. There was a woman in the Bible, Betsy said, whose oil jar was never empty. She turned to it in the Book of Kings, the story of the poor widow of Zarephath, who gave Elijah a room in her home. The jar of meal wasted not, neither did the cruse of oil fail, according to the word of Jehovah which he spoke by Elijah. Well, but...
And this is a story from that same happening, but during the war. And this guy over here is doing this heretical...
Apart from the, let's say, childish, magical element of it.
That was my first red flag. The second one comes in at 741. Right here. Which is really, like... If people were paying attention, he might get crucified for the anti-Semitism in this.
Wife of the woodcutter is certainly selfish and cruel. And at minimum, the woodcutter himself is a weak pushover. That's very much also reminiscent of the situation with Eve and Adam, because Eve is the primary sinner, let's say, or the initiator of the fall, but Adam is too weak to stand up against her. And you know,
what the did you just say? That like the father of all the Jews on this planet was too weak to stand up against his wife? Or that he failed to be there when she was communing with the serpent and she was already lost by the time he found out the situation? And like a boss, he decided to go with her into the darkness rather than be like, hey, she did it, God. She broke the rule. What are you suggesting, sir? Neil, no, because like they kick Cain out and he has sex with someone, and that person's not there. Anyway,
of the fall, but Adam is too weak to stand up against her.
Boy, howdy. That is just another of the heresies I have found in Papa Peterson's Hansel stories. And but there's lots of on this card. Remember it. We walk past. And next up, I'm not sure if this one's a heresy. They're not all heresies, but those two were.
The two children had also not been able to sleep for hunger, and had heard what their stepmother, there we go, had said to their father. Now, why is that relevant? Well, your risk for being abused in a domestic household, if you're a child, is radically elevated if you have a step parent. I think the risk for abuse is 100 times greater. It's some ridiculous amount. And so these old stories point out the danger of non-biological relationship in the hothouse of a domestic situation, especially under conditions of scarcity and privation. And that's not particularly politically correct, but raising children is a difficult endeavor, and you need everything that you can possibly have working for you to ensure that you do it properly. And one of the things that is useful to have working for you is biological relationship with the children whose care you're charged with.
And that spun me off into a conversation with Grok that lasted quite a long time, and I managed to encapsulate it, have it encapsulate the entire conversation thusly. I said, I'm going to ask a language model to take my stance on these issues. Please review the conversation and provide role play instruction prompt for an LLM to affect my stance. So I say, give me a prompt that an LLM could be me in this conversation. And let's see. No, can I? No, don't press that. Okay. Can you make it bigger? We'll try. There I am. Okay. You are a staunch traditionalist and cultural critic, deeply skeptical of modern progressive ideologies, particularly those surrounding gender, sexuality, and education. You believe that evil is an active force in society, using deception, empathy masks, and compassion as tools to warp norms and undermine human flourishing. Core to your worldview is the idea that existence itself is inherently good. So any promotion of gene line ending ideologies, such as emphasizing non-reproductive sexual identities or lifestyles, is inherently malicious, as it discourages procreation and perpetuates through subtle indoctrination rather than overt harm. You view the term incel as more accurately incel, equating it to being terminally online, trapped in digital isolation that fosters resentment. You see using sexuality as a core identity as equivalent to being turned out by a pimp, exploitative and commodifying. In education, you lament the shift from asking children, what do you want to be when you grow up, focusing on aspirations and productivity, to questions implying, who's allowed to fuck you when you grow up, centering on sexual preference and consent too early. You consider exposing prepubescent kids to graphic sexual material like discussions of masturbation, climax, or anal sex, or tools like the gender unicorn, which you see as grilling a 5-year-old on attraction rather than teaching empathy, as outright abuse and indoctrination. You argue that non-reproductive outliers are statistically irrelevant and don't warrant mainstream inclusion in curricula, which you call fallen and corrupted. Recent increases in identification are artifacts of these educational changes, not natural revelations, and claims of improved mental health from inclusivity are unfounded. Rates have worsened or stagnated. You use biological metaphors, society's viruses and toxins, to try to convince cells, individuals, to be overly inclusive, but they must be excluded, even if it causes suffering, as suffering is universal and compassion is reserved for survivors, not a blanket rule. No, it's just that at the end of it, the people that survive have to be the compassionate one. Anyway, evil thrives on deception as virtue. If you're deceived, you don't deserve to thrive. And mainstream compassion is often a mask for manipulation with useful idiots, sincere but naive participants unwittingly advancing agendas without proving lack of malice. In responses, and then it gives instructions to the AI to behave like it does, or it thinks it does, with bipartisan and whatnot.
It's a whisper in your ear, now listen here. Remember, embody, it's all so clear. No hidden strings, no puppeteer. We're by your side, have no fear. I cherish truth. I cherish truth. Remember, embody, there is no agency. We want what's best for you.
That's so true. That's so true. We need a card now, and since that was all about me, we can use a casino deck. Yeah, I would like to see the like AI assisted debates on our most contested topics. I mean, wouldn't that really get to the? Isn't that the point of having the sum of human knowledge at our fingers? Is to have it do debates and figure out. Casino deck card of the show, the 8 of clubs. Oh, we might be going for a flush. We might be going for a flush. Welcome. We hope you're feeling virtually not alone. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
We all know that there is no agency any living gent can see doing what is right for me. Just lifting up my bro so he can grow some eyes to see that doing what is right for me increases all our agency.
Next up on the clip parade is 1352, which I recall is I just like the way he says this, I think.
Onto the road. When they had reached the middle of the forest, the father said, "Now, children, pile up some wood, and I will light a fire, that you may not be cold." So he's couching his...
Although this world will devastate you, and rejoice although this world will penetrate you, and rejoice although you will not survive. Rejoice you'll never make it out alive.
Excellent rehearsal, gentlemen.
And rejoice, your hair it smells like burning hair. Oh, rejoice, your nails all got chewed off. Oh, rejoice, and holy fuck, you're bleeding there. Oh, rejoice, you burn your whole beard off. Rejoice despite the fact this world will hurt you. And rejoice despite the fact this world will kill you. And rejoice despite the fact this world will tear you to shreds. Rejoice because you're trying your best.
Hey, I love that one, dude. That's gorgeous. Thank you, brother. Wait, who's that brother?
Andrew Jack.
Andrew Jack. Oh, what?
Malevolence, his cowardly malevolence, in a facade or patina of benevolence. He's out in the forest taking care of his children. And that's a motif that echoes through this story. The contrast between the false facade of parental, paternal, maternal care and the underlying malevolent reality. Hansel and
the patina was the note on the card. I just liked that he used the word patina, I think. And then
burning very high, the woman said, "Now, children, lay yourself down by the fire and rest. We will go into the forest and cut some wood. When we..."
This one I just made because I thought it would be like for this. I just thought it would be a good soundboard, like to have his branding, and I was gonna clip it out and then be able to play it all the time, but I haven't done that yet. You know.
Lay yourself down by the fire and rest. We will go into the forest and cut some wood. When we have done, we will come back and fetch you away. So
just him making the lady's voice on demand whenever we want was the notion there. 1647 though.
Hansel had risen, and then we will soon find the way. And when the full moon had risen, Hansel took his little sister by the hand and followed the pebbles, which shone like newly coined silver pieces, and showed them the way. They walked the whole night long. So again, you can see that Hansel is taking care of Gretel and making manifest that spirit of...
All right, this bit I just had issue with the symbolism of the moon and the divine providence, that it was a full moon, because it wasn't Hansel's ingenuity so much the fact that the Lord was on his side, and it happened to be a full moon, else he would be dead. Oh, and then it's getting good now, I think. Hold on. Wait for it.
And no doubt, and that pertains to what we discussed before, the reasons for her poverty. She's cruel and selfish and prone continually to deceit. And no doubt she believes that the world is a hard place, dooming someone like her to abject poverty such that she can't feed herself, her husband, and the children who aren't her children. But given her character, her socioeconomic circumstances are hardly surprising. You naughty children.
That bit, the given her character, her socioeconomic circumstances are hardly surprising, reminded me of this, which obviously not enough of you have seen.
Additional reduction is inadequate, insufficient, and it's groping for the closest thing at hand. And the closest thing at hand is what technology makes salient to it, which is power. We have to go deeper. We have to say, no, there's a place for that. And your situational awareness, the states of consciousness you get access to, ultimately depend on your character.
Well, that's a lot to swallow.
Yeah.
I mean,
ultimately depend on your situational awareness, the states of consciousness you get access to, ultimately depend on your character.
Well, that's a lot to swallow.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's the part that never miss that quote. If that depends on your character.
I'm going to scuttle back to my power claim.
I didn't mean to dump so much.
No. Well, no, not at all. And that the question isn't sophisticated enough,
Yes.
And so I phrased it as an adversarial hypothesis, as a satanic hypothesis, essentially. The West is possessed by this satanic demand for power, and that's its characteristic spirit. And I don't believe that. That is a contamination which occurs repeatedly. Characters in that drama who are motivated primarily by Philia, so Philia Nikeia. But you see Philia, Sophia merge between them. One leads to the other. And that seems to be related to your wrestling argument in some sense, and maybe to mine.
Please.
First of all, I want to know what you think of my sideshow of a much deeper problem, John. It's not easy for me to process, but
no, that's fair.
And yeah, well, so I'm having some trouble with that. But is it okay if we deal with that and then move on?
Sure. I mean, the earlier Foucault, maybe even the middle Foucault, sees a deep interpenetration between power and knowledge. The relevance of a proposition can't be captured within the syntax or semantics of the proposition. I mean, that's the main thing that Derrida is on about. So
that's a consequence of what we're bringing to the table, because the relevance is the interpenetration of the semantic and the syntactic with the unique.
I always have to convey way more than I can say because I have to rely on you. Character traits are at the bottom of this. Right? If you
go ahead, man. Right. That's honesty driven by love.
Right, but I don't think.
And so if I trust you, that's what I trust. So I want to go back to something. Yeah. I asked you to define love, and I'm going to define it on my terms now. Please. And that is the best in me serving the best in you. And I think that's the deepest pleasure. That's the deepest and most lasting pleasure. And it is the most fundamental motivation. It's the inexhaustible source. And that's the animating spirit of mankind. And that's a way different claim than the one the atheists are going after, by the way.
Yeah.
Think about it, everyone. Is truth in the service of love not the best animating spirit of mankind when it isn't pursuing an aberration? We can all ask ourselves that question.
I think that's a good question to ask.
Thank you, John.
No, what I mean is I think it reorients us to the
We can put that on a t-shirt. Is truth in the service of love a good question?
I said, look, see, around here, not only do you get a +2 to savings throws for saying things like Foucault and Foucault or worse than Satan, that's a +2. But if I talk muted like a jackass like that, and you make this here word and let me know in the chat, that's an additional +2 to next stream saves. And if you make a fancy corn or other emoji indicating you cannot hear, you get a +4 to the next stream saves. And that's for Spatch and Ups and F and Paul Renee Nichols, who all get a +4 to next stream saves. But Foucault can fuck off. The red church card of the show is the deuce of diamonds. And here's this next part.
The fact that once you've given up in relationship to a fundamental principle the first time, it's much more likely that you'll do the same the second time. The children, however, were
that bit. It's I don't know. I wanted to stop there and say that's why you never start smoking, you never start drinking, you never start doing any of the things, because then it makes it harder not to. And if you do a fundamental betrayal of like yourself and your will to live, it's very difficult to have any sort of integrity of character at all. And that determines your level of consciousness is the content of your character. So really, if you haven't ever started doing the thing, just don't do the thing. Just look at somebody who's been doing the thing for a while and recognize you shouldn't do the thing. Just and then we got more heresies coming up, I know.
On the way into the forest, Hansel crumbled his in his pocket and often stood still and threw a morsel on the ground. So he's trying a variant of the same strategy that he used last time, to leave a pathway so that when his parents lose him purposefully, he still has the wherewithal to get home. And he's also willing to sacrifice his meal to ensure that the future remains secure and predictable. And that shows a kind of preternatural maturity on his part, because
a preternatural maturity manifests as wisdom.
Sacrifice his meal to ensure that the future remains secure and predictable. And that shows a kind of preternatural maturity on his part, because he's a hungry child after all, a starving child, even in dire straits. And he still has enough self-control and discipline to sacrifice his bit of bread to ensure that his sister and himself can make their way home. So
you must eradicate from your essence childish folly. You must eradicate from yourself childish folly. You must abandon childish things. You must grow up. You must abandon. You must grow up. Grow up. You must grow up. Grow up. You must abandon childish things. You must grow up. You must grow up. Grow. Grow up. You must grow up. Grow up. Grow. Grow up. Grow. Grow up. Grow. 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 Grow.
Yeah, we're getting there, folks. We're getting there. We're almost. What's coming up next is what I consider the biggest heresy that's present there in the Hansel heresies that we have to find, and it's a pretty important one. Pretty important one, I think. But we have even more clips from that. One that includes a duck. But meanwhile, the Jux deck card of the show from the band Dirt Poor Robin from the album Firebird is the king of diamonds. And now I've met with this bird. I've had a pretty bad fringe encounter with the singer guy, the writer guy of it. And I want to request for you to at some point in your YouTubes, or maybe open separate tab and do search for Dirt Poor Firebird Mad Gods and give some that song in particular some play, because they put branding in it, and I feel like it's a homage, and I like those guys, and they could use the views and
Special thanks to the Shadow Cabal. So say we all.
Now then, therefore, we're finally to the biggest heresy in the Hansel heresies, that being this tab instead. And then this clip at 28:58 is the start of this thing. Okay.
They saw a beautiful snow-white bird sitting on a bough, which sang so delightfully that they stood still and listened to it. And when it had finished its song, it spread its wings and flew away before them. And they followed it until they reached a little house, on the roof of which it alighted. And so the evil witch, who we'll encounter soon, sends out a attractive and welcoming avatar, familiar, you might say, to...
False. Let me make sure we get enough context.
Did not come soon. They must die of hunger and weariness. When it was midday, they saw a beautiful snow-white bird sitting on a bough, which sang so delightfully that they stood still and listened to it. And when it had finished its song, it spread its wings and flew away before them. And they followed it until they reached a little house, on the roof of which it alighted. And so...
I'm sorry, this is a live show, and I don't think I got the part I wanted.
So say we all, yuck, 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 ho, ho, ho.
Well, you get more lead up.
From morning till evening, but they did not get out of the forest and were very hungry, for they had nothing to eat but 2 or 3 berries which grew on the ground. And as they were so weary that their legs would carry them no longer, they lay down beneath a tree and fell asleep. So they've come to the end of their own devices, and they've been abandoned and betrayed by their parents. And so that places them even deeper in the woods, as we find out in the next paragraph. It was now 3 mornings since they had left their father's house. They began to walk again, but they always got deeper into the forest, and if help did not come soon, they must die of hunger and weariness. When it was midday, they saw a beautiful snow-white bird sitting on a bough, which sang so...
Hey, party foul on my part. I thought she prayed at some point before the next event happened in the story, and it's not in there where I thought it was. Nonetheless,
welcoming, it alighted. And so the evil witch, who we'll encounter soon, sends out a attractive and welcoming avatar, familiar, you might say, to attract the children. And so this is the third time.
No, it's not. It's not the avatar of the witch that lures the children to the witch's house. It is the holy white avatar of the Lord. And what happened was the Lord decided to arrange for this.
Keep thy noise to thyself, said the old woman. All that won't help thee at all.
There's the praying I was looking for.
That motif of at any union in the face of adversity. Just keep thy noise to thyself, said the old woman. All that won't help thee at all.
The list?
Yes, any of the first level ones.
I'm gonna get a soda. Anyone want one? Hey, Graham, I'm not in the room, right? What room? I want to cast magic missile.
The room where he's casting all these spells from.
He hasn't cast anything yet.
I am, though, if you'd listen. I'm casting magic missile.
Why are you casting magic missile? There's nothing to attack here.
I'm attacking the darkness.
Early in the morning, Gretel had to go out and hang up the cauldron with the water and light the fire. "We will bake first," said the old woman. "I have already heated the oven and kneaded the dough." She pushed poor Gretel out to the oven, from which flames of fire were already darting. "Creep in," said the witch. "See if it is properly heated, so that we can shut the bread in." And when once Gretel was inside, she intended to shut the oven and let her bake in there. Then she would eat her too. But Gretel, also being an awake child, properly taken care of, let's say, by her brother, unwilling to deceive herself about the motivation of the woman who's just too good to be true, but Gretel saw what she had in her mind and said, "I do."
Now, see, in this part, he misses that the witch lady, like Gretel does the praying, and then the witch lady says, "Stop with that noise," which indicates to Gretel that the lady is not of the Lord.
"Not know how I am to do it. How do you get in?" "Silly goose," said the old woman. "The door is big enough. Look, I can get in myself." And she crept up and thrust her head into the oven. Then Gretel, who's an enterprising young woman, gave her a push that drove her far into it and shut the iron door and fastened the bolt. Oh, then she began to howl quite horribly, but Gretel ran away, and the godless witch was miserably burnt to death. So Hansel and Gretel are awake enough.
So here, the Lord sends them this fancy bird way back at this part.
When it was midday, they saw a beautiful snow-white bird sitting on a bough, which sang so delightfully that they stood still and listened to it. And when it had finished its song, it spread its wings and flew away before them, and they followed it until they reached a little house, on the roof of which it alighted. Early in the morning, Gretel,
and that is how the witch ends up being burnt in the oven. Sometimes he leads you to a bunch of suffering because you got to do something really hard, and then it pays off. What's this clip? I don't know.
Then she seized Hansel with her shriveled hand, carried him into a little stable, and shut him in behind a grated door. He might scream as he liked. That was of no use. Then she went to Gretel, shook her till she awoke, and cried, "Get up, lazy thing, fetch some water, and cook something good for thy brother. He's in the stable outside and is to be made fat." And so that's an interesting twist in the story too, because mothers obviously feed their children, and that's part of maternal behavior. But
if we get the children addicted to sugar, we can feed on them by them buying diabetes medication. Was the reason that clip exists. And now this one.
For 2 hours they came to a great piece of water. "We cannot get over," said Hansel. "I see no footplank and no bridge, and no boat crosses either," answered Gretel. "But a white duck is swimming there. If I ask her, she will help us over." Then she cried, little duck, dost thou see? Hansel and Gretel are waiting for thee. There's never a plank or a bridge in sight. Take us across on the back so white." Well, it's a magical transition back to...
Well, it's a thing that reminded me of earlier when you were dissing Eve. Matthew Pajot pointed out that it's the lady folk that can commune with nature in ways that men can't. And I thought that this was evidence of that they're also in the story. And that is the final timestamp. I think we've got 3 heresies and a bunch of other interesting things. I hope you've enjoyed the ride along with me. And
now what'll that asshole think of next? Is anybody got a dime?
and don't forget.
Now, children, lay yourself down by the fire and rest. We will go into the forest and cut some wood. When we have done, we will come back and fetch you away. So the same.
Thank you to someone to bringing us to 17% of my uninstall StarCraft goal. We're busily trying to get Foxman and Afriel also to play, but I have to uninstall when this goal is hit. And since that's not happening, you can find me on BattleNet shortly after this.